Hey guys, our guest today is a visionary leader that has transformed the fitness education community, a successful business owner and advisor. She is a keynote speaker, published author, podcast presenter, and sought after industry trailblazer. She has a unique ability to share her passion and devotion towards fitness education through her humor, enthusiasm, and her no-nonsense personality. She serves as the Gold's Gym think tank. She was also on the Women in Fitness Association Board of Directors and is a proud inductee into the National Fitness Hall of Fame. It's safe to say that she has made a positive impact on the fitness industry as a whole. Welcome to the show, CEO of SCW Fitness Education and Water in Motion, Sara Kooperman.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much, Mike.
I'm excited. I feel like I'm ready to do a workout, just reading your bio and getting prepared with these questions. I'm ready to do some burpees. What do you have planned for us today?
No burpees. I'm sitting here. I love this. I got back from a long walk with the dog, and the dog love the dog, right?
What's your dog's name?
Buster.
Buster. He's looked like he's busted.
Yeah. He definitely is.
I love it. That's what I look like after doing a couple burpees for sure. What I want to do is let people know where they can tune into you. It's Sara Kooperman, and it's spelled S-A-R-A. Kooperman is with a K.com. Also, her company, you can find them at scwfit.com. And if you're on social, check them out on Instagram. It's at SCW Fitness, and you can go to hashtag SCWmania to follow what she's doing and her great organization. And I'm going to say this, there's so many directions that we could start in, as everybody heard in the bio. There's a lot of organizations, and it's an impressive list of organizations that you're leading, not only involved with, but that you're leading. But I'd like to start with SCW. I know that's kind of like has a good chunk of your time. Tell us what that's all about, how you started it, and what you're doing today.
Well, I started at a very young age as a dancer. Okay, so I started dancing, and I loved movement. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I danced all the way through elementary school. I danced in high school. I choreographed the student show. I was president of the dance club, but my foot grew wrong because I was in toe shoes very, very early. Mm-hmm. So I had to decide as a senior in high school, do I pursue dancing or do I go and get my foot operated on? Like, so I can walk, because I was in terrible pain.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? I know I want to be a professional someday. I'm just going to get my foot operated on, and I'll end up, I'll figure it out from there. So I got the foot operated on, and I ended up going to college, and I knew I was studying political philosophy. And doing the political philosophy, I decided this is great stuff. I love this, but I started putting on that freshman 15. And the only way I could lose my freshman 15 was I thought, well, I danced, and that's why I'm not dancing. So What do I do here? I'm going to have to do something else. So I started running, because that's when jogging started. I'm 61 years old, so that was over 40 years ago. So I started the jogging, and I was jogging. I started dancing, and it was like crazy. I had rehabbed my foot after the foot operation. They told me I wouldn't be able to dance afterwards. Yeah. But what I did, because I was in high school, my best friend had a swimming pool and a hot tub. So I couldn't, dance. So I went swimming in his pool, and I rubbed my foot when I was in the hot tub. Hello, that's rehab.
Yeah.
And I rehabbed my foot. So when I was at college and I put on that 15, I found that I could dance. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of backing up a little bit here, but it was wonderful. And it's something that I loved. So when I was in college, I was taking dance classes, and they were expensive. Like, they were $6 a class. All right.
Yeah.
Which at that time was like that's like going to Soul Cycle. That's like, $25, $35 a class, right? It's a lot of money.
Sure.
And they had an audition for a chorus line, which a lot of us listening might remember it. And I think it came back. And they had auditions for the international cast. And my dance teacher had mentioned it, and she knew she watched me, and I was good. So she said, you really should come, Sara. You really love it. It's like a free dance class, like all day long, these auditions. So I show up. I brought my ballet shoes. I brought my jazz shoes. I forgot my tap shoes.
Oh, man.
I show up to do it, and I made it all the way through. There were hundreds of girls there. I made it all the way through to there were 4 of us left. I didn't even bring tap shoes. I had to borrow my dance teacher's tap shoes.
Yeah.
And she was 6 feet tall. Now I'm 5'8" now, but at that time,
what did you do? Did you have to tape them up so they didn't fall off?
I shoved in paper towels in the toes. And that's how I did my tap. But then when you do, it's an international cast. So you had to sing. Also, I don't sing. I'm a horrible singer. Even when my babies were young and I would sing to them, they're like, Mommy, don't sing.
Yeah.
So I didn't make it. But they came up to me and they said, you're like one of the top 4. You're an amazing dancer. You should really think about pursuing this. And I was 17 at the time. And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, the next weekend there was another audition for a dance company. So I auditioned with that dance company, and I actually made the company itself. And so they said, if you make the company, you have to go to school part-time. And you can't, you have to go to school part-time, and you have to work because we pay you. So you have to start teaching dance. And I'm like, I've never taught dance. I'm 17 years old. Like, what am I going to tell people what to do? But I had to start teaching. So I took the dance troupe as being a cast member. I started teaching dance, and I loved it. Like, I have to be honest with you, I didn't like the performing. Like I rehearsed, I got a solo, I performed that whole bit. I didn't like it. I thought, this is stupid. I don't want to stare at myself for 6 hours a day.
Wow.
These people smoke cigarettes and eat hard-boiled eggs and grapefruit, and they smell like.
It felt like even though when you were a member of the cast, you were kind of an outcast compared to.
Yeah, there you go. Because I was a great dancer, so they're all like looking at you like, they're so competitive. But I'm like, it was a very unhealthy environment, and I love teaching. And at the same time that I started teaching, that's when, aerobics came about with Jane Fonda. So I started teaching aerobics with a Victrola that you open up, that I put Aretha Franklin on, and I put Michael Jackson and the Go-Go's and whoever was, Madonna, but a very young Madonna.
I gotta say, you have something we're going to talk about in a minute called active aging, and I'm going to tell you it works, because I would have never guessed that you would have been at this for 40 years, because it doesn't. You physically don't look it. So, and that's not just losing the guest on my show. I mean, age is a number. That's a whole nother thing. But this is amazing. You're talking about literally playing a record, doing an aerobics class, which is like cutting edge technology at the time.
Well, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, they literally had to say to me, you have to dress nicer, because I was wearing, the old ripped up, big tank top and the tights with the crotch cut out that you put over your head and you stretch your arms through the leg holes. I was wearing all that junk, and then I had to start dressing like an aerobics instructor. But I loved it. And I knew that there was something in this, but I also knew I didn't want to be a dancer. I finished college. I ended up going to law school. I was a licensed attorney. I'm no longer licensed. I don't practice law. I own a company. But I knew that, you see a spark, you get a spark of an idea that you go, I love this. I have a passion for this. Okay. And then you hope that passion meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope for. And so,
But here's the
for
thing.
me,
I don't love the word hope. I don't mean to interrupt, but I know that you're not someone who just sat at home at that time and hoped. You were doing the actions every single day that took your passion and your dream and put it into action. And then opportunity is going to find you more likely. Like if people just sit at home and pray that their life is going to come together, there's great energies that do help you and guide you. But at the end of the day, you're the one who did it. And I just want to make sure, I know you're being humble, but I just want to make sure everyone
well,
listening knows that you were grinding this out, 40
but
years.
Mike, I really, really agree with you, because when I was deciding whether or not to join that dance company,
Mhm.
I thought, this is my passion, this is my love. When I called my parents and said, I'm going to go to school part-time. This is a straight A high school student. I was a straight A college student. I'm no dummy. And they're like, my mother's screaming at me at the
Yeah.
phone. And thank God my father said, SJ, that was my nickname, SJ, go for it. And I'm like, thank God, take the bullet from my mother. Okay.
Yeah.
But she's screaming at me. And you're going to encounter these naysayers in your life that say, no, your passion is stupid and you're never going to make any money as a dancer. And what are you doing throwing away your life? And how are you going to finish your degree? And you're never going to get anywhere. And you sit there and you go, and even if that wasn't my passion, people have to try different things to figure out, what they don't want to do. That's one of the biggest things I figured out. I didn't want to be a dancer, but I did love teaching. And then when I did figure out I love teaching, and I thought, but I need to get some type of degree and be a professional. And I went to law school. Well, I don't want to be a lawyer, but I want to finish my degree. So I finished my degree. And then I opened a studio, a small little studio called Sarah's City Workout. That's where SCW came from.
Oh, I love
Sarah's
it.
City
Workout.
Okay.
Wow,
So
cool.
I opened this stupid little boutique studio, having absolutely no business background. Never took an accounting class.
What are you, 22, 23 at this time?
Yeah. I think it was 23, maybe 22.
I want to add to that, though. It's so important. The reason I started my show, Sara, is for stories like this to inspire my audience. My mission statement is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. Me sitting in front of a microphone and just saying, this is what you got to do, that's not going to be A, entertaining, and B, have as much purpose and pull at the heartstrings. This show is about hearing stories like yours. You're going to study law. Your parents wanted you to do what they wanted you to do, because then they can, I'm not trying to poke at your parents, but most parents are like this. They want what's best for their child, which is financial stability and comfort, because that's what we want our kids to be, happy and comfortable. And when there's a passion about teaching aerobics, when someone is going to school and maybe has this other capability that your parents probably already saw in you, I understand their struggle with what you were saying, but no one can understand and feel it as much as someone who's doing it. The second part of what you said that's so important, and I want to make sure it doesn't just get lost, is you really don't know who you are, what you're going to become until you get started and do it. Because I'm in like the fourth iteration of my own personal company, which I'll talk about later. But I'm actually in conversations with a whole new concept over the last 24 hours that would have never started if I didn't get started 3 years ago. Super important for people to get started and learn about themselves and get that callous. And the most successful people in the world have failed more times than the average person even thought about starting. So with that, I'll let you continue the story, but that's so important to not overlook it.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's interesting. I've got one of my kids right now was a 3-3 student at University of Michigan, made the dean's list, junior, and decides, I'm out of here. I don't want to finish college. And I'm like, I'm going to kill you. And I have to shut up. I have to physically work on not strangling him and keeping my mouth shut. Because it's also, Mike, I don't think it's just figuring out what you want to do and finding it pursuing your passion. No, I was lucky. I like to dance, but I'm sorry, aerobics is a lot different than dancing.
Yeah.
You know, fitness and health and wellness, and frankly, being the CEO of a company has nothing to do with aerobics and dance, even though it's a fitness company.
Mm-hmm.
But he is actually figuring out what he doesn't want to do, and that's just as important as figuring out what you want to do. So for me, it was like figuring out that I didn't want to have that studio. I did open a small fitness center, and in owning it for a full year, it was downtown Chicago. Oprah Winfrey used to come with Stedman Graham, all the people from Harpo, all their producers. It was kind of fun.
Was it kind of like I don't want to overuse this word or maybe even misuse it, but like kind of a boutique. It was smaller, but it had that like feel of you're going to go. It's like the small little coffee shop that people love because it has character. Your studio had your character. So people love going there opposed to like a big thing downtown or something.
It was a small boutique.
Yeah. So that is the
right word. Studio. It was beautiful. I mean, it had nice, beautiful wall of mirrors, and it had a hardwood floor. And I actually bought the studio from another owner.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I could really make it huge and la la la, and I wasn't making any money. And then in one day, my friend from California came in town to visit, and we held a workshop. He trained instructors how to teach on a Saturday because he was coming in from California. I thought, oh, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So I thought, how am I going to advertise this? So there was, when I started my company, there was no World Wide Web.
Right.
There were no computers. There were no fax machines.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no internet. There was no cell phones.
Did you hire like a newsboy to stand at the corner?
What I did is there was snail mail. So I ordered the entire state of Illinois' yellow pages, and I filled up the men's dressing room because one of the only men I had coming was Stedman Graham. Okay. And I tore out the health club pages and the dance pages, and I typed it up. And thank goodness my dad was a small businessman and was very wise. And he said to me, SJ, just get those sticky labels. Remember those sticky labels, 3 across and like 10 or 11 down?
Yeah.
And he said, put all the A's on one sheet and all the B's on another sheet. So if anybody goes out of business or moves, then you can take it to Kinko's, the copy shop, and just copy it and just peel off the wrong address and put on a new or a different address. And thank goodness he did that, because that was my first database. Now we have 74,000 email addresses and over 60,000 cell phone numbers that we text, and 300,000, social media connections. It's really kind of crazy how the world changes. But we started doing a training workshop, and in that one day, we made more money than we made in the whole month. And the following Monday, I went, that's it. I'm selling the studio, and I'm going to do workshops. I'm going to do educational training workshops. And I think another life lesson, like I really appreciate you bringing up that you need to fail. You need to figure out what you don't want to do as much as what you do want to do. But in doing that, and in figuring out that trying to do these training events, everything just kind of started clicking.
It was a magic moment. It's a day you'll never forget. And I think many people in business that are tuning in, or aspiring entrepreneurs tuning in, it's important to know that it's okay. Look, she had this studio that she was doing everything she could in her heart to make it work. And one day realized, hey, you know what? We're not doing great with it. I can keep it if I wanted to, but I found the magic potion, and I would have never got here if I didn't open my doors. As again, going back to that message.
And I think it's very important to surround yourself with people that will support you. Because, okay, I had my mom, the naysayer, but my dad could give me little tidbits of advice. And my boyfriend at the time in law school,
Mhm.
And my boyfriend at the time when I opened the studio is now my husband of 38 years.
Oh, that's all. I love that
And
story.
he just supported me.
Mhm.
And there were times when I was looking to open the studio where I found a location, we got really close, and then the economics just weren't going to work out. And
Mhm.
I had said to Alan, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a part-time law job. I mean, I had interned with a judge. I could have gotten a law job. I said, why don't I just, he goes, Sara, if you go into law, you're never going back. You're never
Mhm.
going to get out of it. You're never going to do
Kind of
what you
stuck in
want
the
to do.
system. Either you do it or you don't. They're not going to let you kind of have one foot in the water.
And the other thing was, for women out there listening,
Mhm.
there are just, 50% of the people that graduate from college are female. 50% of the people that graduate from grad school are female. 4.6% of the population are female owners. Okay, our
Wow.
CEOs are female owners.
Is that
And I
then or is that
don't
now? Is that accurate
That's
today?
that was back then, and we're
Okay.
still under 10%.
Mhm.
And it's hard, it's like you don't have to make the choice. Do I have kids or do I have a job? I have 4 kids. I have
Yeah.
4 boys now, 30, 27, 25, and 23. All
Yeah.
right. I'm sure 2 out of 4 hate me, and I'm sure I've screwed them up some way, but then who doesn't, right? And I do have a happy marriage, and I've got an exhausted dog. So we're all, we're all living the dream, but we can do these things, and surrounding yourself around people that support you is important. And I do have some girlfriends that are always like, well, you should blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't mean we can't be friends. It just means I'm not going to listen to them when they tell me you need to retire or you
Uh,
need to,
It's tough to
stay
take
home and
advice
watch.
from someone who they are like burned out in their own endeavors and maybe gave up on a dream. And even though they're a friend and you respect them as a person, they're like, I think you're doing too much or working too hard, or you should cool it a little bit or take a vacation. And they don't understand when you're really doing what you love and passionate about it, and you still feel like you can do more. It's not that you don't want to take a vacation, but you're just looking to get a little bit more out or whatever. It's kind of, and it just becomes difficult to hear the voice of someone who maybe they simply don't get it. So out of respect, you kind of say, oh, I appreciate that, but where you're going for your inspiration, which is really cool. You talked about your family, and I have that in as one of my questions. I think is super important for us to talk about. You're involved with multiple organizations. You've done it at a high level, and you've been highly successful. We're jumping like 5 questions ahead here, but I want to make sure we do at least stay on course with that to tell your story. But what's important, I have one daughter, she's 5 years old, and that can, and unfortunately I'm limited in time with her, but I make sure that when I'm with her, I'm super mindful to be with her, right? It's hard to turn business off, but we do it. How do you do that with 4 children? You have your husband, you got Buster behind you. How do you balance it all? You have conferences, workshops, multiple organizations. What's the secret?
Well, we were also very lucky that we found a nanny that started when Sammy, my first, was 1 month old.
Mm-hmm.
And she came and she immediately grabbed Sam and she immediately pet the dog. And it wasn't this dog, it was another dog.
Sure.
And she became part of our family, and she was with us for 11 and a half years. So
Wow.
that was really very helpful. But we were flexible. She didn't speak English. I mean, she'd come over from Poland all by herself. Her daughters were back in Poland. She traveled all by herself. She had been divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And one by one, she brought her daughters over. It was really kind of cool. And her daughter actually was my nanny for one summer. It was
That's
kind
cool.
of an interesting thing. But you have to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to ask for help or find help. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I couldn't afford, we were young, newlyweds. I love my husband dearly, but I married a pile of loans. That's what I married. Neither of us were independently wealthy at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to, Lucy didn't speak English. So I had to find a nanny that didn't speak English. I lucked out. The first nanny I tried, she just didn't have it. I didn't connect.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not staying here.
Yeah, there's a big trust part that this person's going to be in your home. They're a family member, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was actually a lawyer from Poland, and it just didn't connect. Now Lucy, I connected with. I have no idea why. She was like my mom's age.
Yeah.
My parents were not that capable of helping as much, so she was amazing.
That's a great story, though. You actually helped her get her daughters to the States because obviously she's employed and she was, growing and learning and doing her, her part in being.
You apply for citizenship.
She applied for citizenship.
Get them over, and because my husband was a practicing lawyer, the whole thing, and we vouched for her and the girls. Her girls are very successful. She was a pediatrician from Poland. I got a pediatrician from Poland, and she was just wonderful. So I was very lucky, but we would divide and conquer, and we had kids playing travel ice hockey. And I once had my older ones say to me, you weren't around as much. I was like, it seared my heart,
Right.
And then I was talking to him. I said, honey, I went to like half of your games. Well, you didn't go to all of them. I'm like, we had 4 kids. How am I going to go? I always got, I hate to say it, but I got the losing kid. Okay. My husband went with all the teams that were winning. The hockey teams that were winning. And I got.
You want me to edit this part out in case your daughter tunes in?
It's fine. But they were all on different teams, so it traded season to season.
Well, and back then they didn't have this whole participation trophy. That's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, they did. Trust me, they did. But
I played t-ball, and my dad let me know on the way home that how gifted I wasn't, which is fine. We're he was shaping me up to realize I wasn't the next Derek Jeter, and look, I figured it out eventually.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's so funny, and. So we just, we traded, we had to trade. And again, it's finding that partner that's going to be supportive, or that building that partnership. I still have friends to this day. Some of my closest friends are the ones that we carpooled with, that we sat with, like my friend Jocelyn and her husband, Mike. Mike and Al worked on together in hockey, and Al is my husband, and they worked together. They always did hockey stuff together, and Jocelyn and I would sit together at games, and you just make these friendships, and then the kids grow up, and then Saturday night comes around and you're like, I have no friends, because every Saturday night I was at a hockey game. Right. And you do make sacrifices. I'll be honest with you. The thing you sacrifice might be, for a working mom, are those friendships that people that play mahjong together or join book clubs. I can't do that. And I say it kind of jokingly, but it's with envy as well. I wish I
I was kind of joking when I said, what's the magic potion, or however I worded that, like, what's the secret? I knew that there is no secret, but you can only do your best at managing it. You weren't at every game, you were at games. There are parents that are doing probably 10% of the activities work-wise in the conferences and things that you're involved with that are still not making their game. So I think it's important for you. I know you're not looking for the pat on your back, but it sounds like you were super active in your children's lives, including with their friends' parents. And then you built these lifelong friendships. And then, of course, they grow up and go on and become their own successful individuals. And, you can still be friends with those parents that you made friends with years ago. It's really a cool thing. And again, very important for everybody to remember. It's important who you are internally as well. So I want to get back kind of on track of telling your story and some of the really important things you're doing. Water in Motion is one of them. It's a trademarked brand, Water and then in motion. Give us more insight on the benefits of what that's all about.
Well, with Water in Motion, I am 61 years old, and I spent a whole decade being pregnant. Okay. That is not a very comfortable, you're just, I was enormous. All right. I used to lie to people and say I'd only gained 35 pounds. I gained 50 pounds. I was huge. And you can't be jumping around doing aerobics like on a deck of a pool or in a gym or running out. I mean, it gets to the point where it's just bouncing on everything on your bladder. It feels horrible. So getting in the water was cool and refreshing. And you have the hydrostatic pressure, which if you've got any varicose veins or anything, this assists with the venous return. You're buoyant in the water. It's a great cardiovascular workout. It's a great muscle toning workout because water is 12 times the resistance of air. Right. It's a tremendous workout, but you're supported by the water. Now, for me, it was because I was pregnant, but now it's because I used to jog. 3 to 5 miles. If I went over 5 miles, I always injure myself. But 3 miles was really easy to do, fast, comfortable. But now the joints, my knees, my hips, my lower back, it's just uncomfortable. But jogging in the water, because you're buoyant and you're lifted up, it cuts the impact shock in half.
And it's the same workout, if not a better workout, right?
It's exactly. You'll burn a little bit less calories because of the buoyancy, but the reality is how much less calories, And
is it always about, is it the story of calories or is it the story of muscle tone and definition? And also, if you burn 350 calories before and now it's 312, would you take the joint, joint pain relief? Yeah, that's definitely worth it, right?
Well, because it's
something that people can do
working out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're running on land and you get your body so sore, you damage something, then you can't work out for 3 days.
Yeah,
it all balances out,
too, right? Like if you're, maybe fully fit and able to do more of an intricate workout in the water, you can. If you're kind of rehabbing something, maybe you're a little bit older and you're not as mobile, you can still get workouts in the pool. Yeah, I think that's really an awesome, and people can tune into that. Is there another way to find Water in Motion? Is there a direct website for that?
waterinmotion.com.
Boom.
WATERINMOTION. Okay, awesome. waterinmotion.com.
I love that you keep it super simple. Sometimes I'll have, and I don't pick on anybody, but sometimes I'm like researching and finding that there's a couple hoops. So far you're keeping it nice and simple for me. I like that.
Well, my favorite thing that I found out that I love to do is marketing.
Who knew, right? Who knew that you would have had a passion for marketing if you didn't have something to market? Right. Definitely. There's something here I don't want to overlook. You were inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame. But I'd love to do. We talked about how you started and how you kind of had these little bit of false starts, and then you had that moment where you realized you needed to get those mailers out and get people to your workshop, and that was kind of the first aha moment. You've had many aha moments, I'm guessing, over your career. One of the coolest things is being nominated and then actually inducted into a Hall of Fame. I don't care what it is, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, music, it could be business, it could be fitness. Tell us about the moment when you got that information and what did that mean to you?
It's interesting because you don't ever feel worthy. Or that's me.
Imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah. And you sit there and you go, well, why me? And I think part of it is because I always feel like I've got blinders on. Like I'm running my race, which I think is a good thing because then you don't look around and go, oh my God, what are they doing? Oh my God, I should be doing that. I should be doing that.
If you're distracted, you're not winning this thing. Like
you're not
part of the reason that you're getting it is because you do have those blinders on.
And I think part of the reason I had the blinders is I had no time. Any free moment, I wasn't going to, go scoping through the internet or check my mail for other stuff or get on somebody else's mailing list. I had kids. So as soon as it shut off, I had another job to do. And then it was about the
kids. Do you feel you got to that point and really were you physically handed a trophy?
Yeah, you get
moment?
this, and it's amazing because you're like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And you're kind of embarrassed. Like, I didn't know who to
How did
share
this
it with.
happen, right? How did I get
And
here, right?
how did I get here? You know, and I look at these things, and we've actually been, people have been saying, you know, we really launched the online revolution for look at this, I'm even stuttering with this,
Yeah.
but online, doing these live stream events, we were the first
Mm-hmm.
one to do a live stream conference. We were the first. Now we've done 3 of them, and we're going to be
You guys
doing
are
our 4th in
trailblazers
November.
in the fit.
Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like and somebody said, oh, well, you got 35 certifications and they're all streaming and they're all online. And how did you get there? And you run more certificate and you da-da-da-da. And I'm like, again, if you're working and you're kind of running your race, and for me, I feel a huge sense of responsibility for my staff, because during this COVID, we unfortunately did have to let somebody go, but that was way back at the beginning, and it had nothing related to do with COVID. It was
Sure. It was going to happen anyway.
Unfortunately, but we did a great severance package. But anyway, we kept every single person employed. And we didn't, you know, we lowered some salaries until we got our PPP loan, and then we popped them right back up again and paid them back for what we had reduced them. And now we went through the PPP loan, and now we've got to reduce slightly just because we got to keep going. But no, we've got such an amazing team, and they're all working towards everything, and we've kept stuff going. I feel a great deal of responsibility and thankfulness and gratitude for my staff. So I know I'm drifting, but going back to that, you know, getting that award, it's nice to kind of go, wow, that's really cool. And you think, who am I going to call? I'm going to call my friend Connie. I got to tell my husband. You know what I mean? I can call my cousin Lauren. You know, it's kind of neat when you
deserve to be prideful in what you do. You're doing it for the right reasons. You weren't doing it for that award. That's why you had to even have the moment to reflect and think about how you got there. Question I had that I just wanted to get out there. How many people are on your SCW team?
Right now we have 20. We used to have 78 when we were also distributing. We distributed Les Mills for a decade, for 10 years around the USA, specifically in the Midwest territory. And I sold that part of my business, and I would focus a little bit more on the conferences and on Water in Motion after we sold that division. So I used to have 3 divisions, and we kind of still do. One of them ends up to be the certifications, and then we have the conferences, and then we have our Water in Motion programming.
I teased it a little bit earlier. I talked about the active aging part of your business, and we only have, unfortunately, 13 minutes left here. So I want to make sure we squeeze everything in. Talk about that. I think you could be 40 years old or you could be 70 years old. I think you're interested in making sure you're kind of keeping that intact, talking about aging. So what is it, and how can people tune into this as well?
Well, to be honest with you, the average age right now of people in North America is about 77 to 79, the average age. Because I remember I was kind of freaking out because I thought, oh my gosh, I looked at our attendance at the conference, and we do questionnaires, and we're very, very cognizant of who our clients are. And they were all like between 77 and 79. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to age out. My business is going to shrink. That's the standard age. The world is aging. It is now. It used to be HIT training was number 1, because the boomers are getting older, and because our older adults are living longer because of modern medicine, and we're taking care of ourselves. And frankly, we're always coming. Look at what's going on with
because
COVID.
You were doing your aerobics videos 40 years ago. If those never started, people wouldn't take it seriously. No, but honestly,
Jane Fonda is still rocking it out on the sitcom.
Yeah, I mean, before that they had those bands that you would put on that just like shook your gut, and that was supposed to. So I mean, all joking aside, though, the fitness industry over the last 40 years is really it's crazy how it's really changed, adapted, and you got to see it firsthand. So that's awesome. But to see that people are engaged at 78, 79 years old and tuned into this kind of stuff, that's awesome.
When we do, like I've mentioned, all our questionnaires, we get thousands upon thousands of responses, over 4,000 responses back from people in the industry. Number one area now, it's not HIT training. Last year it was HIT training. This year it's active aging. And we're not just talking 70, we're going up to 90 years old. Wow. And we're talking about personal training too in this active aging arena. So it really goes from like 40 years old to upwards into the 90s. And it's all types of exercises as well. We even have a workshop with Ann Gilbert, who's a wonderful active ager leader in our industry. And she trains active agers on HIIT training, high intensity interval aerobics. I mean, interval training, which is, I got aerobics stuck in my head. But we've got, so active aging is absolutely enormous. And Kelly Roberts does our personal training certification, and she over this pandemic, she's been leading our active aging certification. We have an aquatics certification, we have active aging certification, we have active aging nutrition with a lovely woman named Tricia Silverman who leads. So there are so many avenues of focus for this particular part of the industry, and we need to continue to think about it. The other reason we want to think about this is these are individuals who actually have money, and I'm not just talking like, huge sums of money because they're older and they saved, they've been saving their whole lives. I'm talking about they see the value in this. Like, why should I go buy a new skirt when I can go and get training? When I can go see, my health is everything. And that's what we've learned through this pandemic, is that your health is everything. And exercise builds immunities. And that's what's going to save us, is having healthy lifestyles. And I think that's one of the things we're learning from this pandemic.
Yeah, it's cool that you went there, because that's actually the next question I had, was talking about the quarantine. Obviously, fitness has taken a big hit. The physical fitness studios, at least I'm in Western New York, if you couldn't tell me with all the Buffalo Bills stuff behind me here. But it just opened up this week, finally, in New York. So I'm not sure what it's like in Illinois, but, or any of the other cities that you're a part of. But talk about one new skill, or maybe a positive takeaway that you have from this whole quarantine.
Well, and that's that exercise builds immunities, and it's something that we need to focus on, we need to take advantage of, and that we need to take seriously. Because it is, people say, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. I mean, it's the truth. It is definitely the truth. Your health and well-being is everything. And if you've got a healthy constitution, you're going to be able to weather the storms of viruses that are out there, because there's going to be more viruses. My oldest son is getting his PhD in bioinformatics, and he's got another virus that he's actually researching at this point. So
well, it's scary too, because we need our immunities to be stronger, and by fighting off certain agents, that's when they get stronger. And quarantine has actually kind of weakened our immunity. And then all of a sudden you release everyone back into society, where there's this new coronavirus that our immune systems haven't seen yet. So I think that's the scary part about it. But I'm glad you mentioned that exercise builds immunity, because it certainly does. And, there's certain workouts you can do from home, which has been important in a lot of people.
And that's been huge. All the workouts you can do from home. We have a brand new certification that actually I helped write where it's virtual training, lights, camera, action. Virtual training, lights, camera, action. And it's how do we train our clients in personal training and in group fitness using Zoom? We got to look at a verbal cueing, visual cueing, what type of background, what clothing we wear, how we train our clients, what type of exercise protocols we're going to use, and basically how do we navigate online. Because when we look at this pandemic and we compare it to, let's say, the plague, there were so many wonderful advancements that came out of the plague. I mean, I know that's horrible. Like,
no, but I mean,
thousands of people
either
died.
can be negative and nothing came from it, or it could be negative and positive growth came from it. And I can already see the way I'm thinking about business has changed. You're thinking about things differently. The people that resonate with us and hang out with us that are similar, like-minded entrepreneurs are already thinking about great things that we may have not, if we were kind of on the straight and narrow and things were kind of going smoothly, you don't really rock the boat. But when the boat's kind of rocked, you start thinking about things. We all turn into like these entrepreneur MacGyvers and try to figure out how we're going to pivot and build things out of duct tape and, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And that's what happens. And these really cool companies, I'm excited to see in 5 years what came out of 2020. Everyone says it's like the worst year in history. Totally understand, especially if people lost family members due to coronavirus. I get it. My grandmother, on her death certificate, it says coronavirus. I don't believe that was completely what it was. She was already really in pretty rough shape going into her nursing home that she was at. But my point is, this year we can say, woe is me. This is all the horrible stuff that happened and focus on that. And that's why, as much as I'm in social media as a social media marketer, I don't always look at all the political posts and stuff because it's just this like bogs you down. What is the great things that came out of 2020? Let's focus on that, and really talk about that. A couple more things I want to do before we head out today. Who is your biggest influence? We didn't really talk about someone that really had a big influence on you.
Well, I do also have to say my husband.
Sure.
I've talked about my dad, but I have to say my husband.
Yeah.
He's always been there to support me when I have a question, when I'm not sure if I'm going down the same path that I should. I can call him, I can text him, and he's just always there, and he provides. It's very, it's wonderful, and I've got really good friends.
Yeah, so important to have a support system around you. Obviously, we have some crazy ideas, and just to have someone that you can run it by and say, how crazy am I this time? And then maybe when you see their eyes light up, like they have excitement for you, it's important to have that supporting cast. And obviously, you said friends and other family members that support your vision. That could be a mastermind group too. A lot of great business people are in mastermind groups to get that clarity and support from other people that they respect. If you could be known for one thing, what would that be?
The only thing that keeps coming is I keep taking a risk. I just keep taking a risk.
And with that being said, if you can deliver one message then to our audience to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, what would kind of your blanket statement be for that?
Make mistakes.
Yeah.
Make mistakes. Try it.
Yeah.
Try it.
And my tagline, something you'll see in my emails that we exchanged and on all my social, is be great and be grateful. Right? It's so important to have moments of gratitude throughout the day. In the last couple minutes here, can you talk about 3 things that you're most grateful for and what it really means to you?
I'm very thankful for my kids. My kids they're really good people, and I really appreciate that. I just think they're good people, and I think that to see them really trying to succeed in their own choices, I'm very proud of them.
You want me to give you 3 things?
Yeah, and I just want to say too, that's a reflection on you. Obviously, your children are all their own individual beings and are responsible for their successes as well. But it's so important to know that my daughter's 5, so I don't quite have that level of reflection. But when I see her just having some manners and playing nice with her toys and being respectful with another kid, it makes me feel good as a parent. Like, okay, I'm doing some of the right things that she's picking up on here. So I can't imagine when she's 20, 25 and doing what she's passionate about. Just knowing that, it's not about me, but it's about just feeling that she's able to go and do those things. That's awesome to feel that. But yeah, I would say 3 things, because then that kind of gives you could put family as one if you want, and then talk about a couple other things just to give us a little bit more insight behind you.
I would say, because I like that the kids what I also see what they're doing is they make good choices.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning even if they end up breaking up with the girlfriend that they, I like the ones that they're choosing. They're making good choices. I have to say that my staff has been amazing. Like that they stay positive and they keep positive and they come up with creative ideas and they always come up with learnings. They're very smart. They're very dedicated. They really work hard. So I have to think that as well. And I think, and I find it's just great. It's wonderful to see it.
Yeah.
Then the, and so that's another thing. And what else?
Yeah.
And of course,
Buster just busted a move and he went from one end.
He's exhausted. Look at this.
Look at that.
He's exhausted.
But let's wrap up on that. We started with Buster on the couch and we ended with him just lounging on the ground. This was so much fun. I know you have to go. Guys, tune in to Sara Kooperman at sarakooperman.com. It's Sara Kooperman with a K. Also on Instagram and social, you can check out hashtag SCW Mania, and she's at SCW Fitness. Sara Kooperman, thank you for being here today. You're inspiring me and my audience to take a risk. Go for it. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here and keep fighting the fight, and everybody stay positive. I'm so sorry about your grandma and such a terrible loss. And we just all have to stay strong. We all have to stay strong. And as leaders, we need to keep strong for all our staff, all our family, our significant others, and definitely our dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. They're family members too. And I just think the last thing there is this whole pandemic was another reminder to just tune into a friend, someone maybe that you remember from hockey practice, and just like give that girlfriend a call on a Saturday afternoon and just, hey, what are you guys up to? How you doing? Like maybe we take that for granted before, and now we're not taking that for granted anymore. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. I'll be in tune with everything you got going on, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.